Hi, this is Elaine Starling. I'm the host of Why 5% Succeed. This is the show for entrepreneurs and small business owners where you're going to learn from my guest about the 4 different ways they're creating more value for their clients. Because bottom line, you show your clients the money, that's when you start making the money. And I am so excited to have a wonderful guest here with me today. Her name is Debi Davis, and she is an acknowledged thought leader around communication strategy. Debi really knows Hangouts, soup to nuts. And she's going to be taking us through how she leverages the power of Hangouts with her clients to help them accomplish their communication strategies. Debi, I'm so delighted to have you here today. And I know it's been a challenge for you to join us, so welcome.
Thank you. I'm happy to be here. I'm joining you from a coffee shop, so I apologize for any rattling of dishes.
This is going to be a really fun conversation, and I've decided I'm going to make sure there's a nice long pause in between me talking and Debi talking, because sometimes bandwidth issues come up, as we discovered last week when I accidentally spoke over my guest at the end of the show. It's live television, these things happen. But I want to get right into the meat of things, because Debi has so many great insights to share with you. And you know, the first thing to really think about is that you're actually creating emotional currency for your clients. That's the very first thing that you do for them, and it's really the foundation of any experience and relationship that they have with you. It's got to be a rewarding experience. It's got to be really compelling so that they want to do business with you. So Debi, could you talk to us a little bit about why you think it's important for people to consider having their own Hangout show?
Well, I think if anybody here who's already watched Hangouts, they know that this face-to-face, getting to see each other in action and live is a really great way to make a connection. And you talked about this emotional currency. I remember the first time I watched a Hangout, and they brought my comment up on the screen with my name and said my name, and that created this emotional reaction in me. It made me want to follow that Hangout, watch the comments even after the Hangout was over to see who else was watching. Did anybody mention anything about the question that I had asked? And so this live interaction really helps to create an emotional experience. And of course, just getting to see people eye to eye like this, I think is really, really helpful.
Absolutely. There is so much communication through sight, sound, and motion. In fact, it turns out that over 90% of our brains are used in some way to process visual information. We are all visual learners first. And to get that immediate connection with somebody and get a feel for who they are just by seeing their movements, seeing their gestures, hearing their voice and the pacing and the pitch, it makes such a powerful connection. But, you know, there are other tools out there, Debi. I'd love to get your take on the value of using Google Hangouts versus something like Skype, which has been around a long time.
Yeah, Skype has been around a long time, and it was filling a need for a long time. But now with Google Hangouts, there are several advantages to Google Hangouts. One of them is that you can have up to 10 people for free right here in the room. So Skype charges, it's a nominal fee, but they charge. The other thing is that while we're on Google Hangout, we're also airing live through YouTube. And YouTube is the second largest search engine in the world. So YouTube has great reach, and your shows are automatically broadcast on YouTube. Then when you're done with the show, they're automatically recorded to your channel, your property, and you can do with them what you want. You don't have to worry about downloading or compressing or whatever the other technical things are that you do with video in order to, you know, do the post-production on it. You don't have to worry about that. It's done automatically and almost instantaneously. Within 15 minutes after this show, for example, this show will be live and ready to view on your YouTube channel with, you know, then you pass the link around and you can share it. So, you know, those are just the immediate benefits of Hangouts. The other is that we have the Google Hangout event, you know, the event page. And then, so in order to promote it, all within the Google ecosystem, which you know is critical to being found on search anyway, right within Google, you can set up an event page. You can connect with all your connections, your network on Google+. It's all in one place, and then when people RSVP, it goes right to their Google Calendar. So all those people all those pieces work together in one really tight little system, and you don't have to worry about connecting all those dots. Google does it for you. So those are just a few of the benefits of Google Hangouts.
I really love the way you put that. I always refer to people, I explain that Google kind of owns the internet these days. They're the big gorilla, right? And the more you are visible on any of the different formats that Google offers, including YouTube, including Hangouts, the more Google love you get, the more exposure you receive, the better it is for your brand. So why not do Google Hangouts? It just makes so much sense. Now, I know there's a lot of different kinds of shows, and Debbie, you've been instrumental in helping create a number of the most popular shows that are aired on Hangouts right now. So could you tell us a little bit about the different kinds of shows and which kinds you think are more popular? I know you did a poll also. I'd love to hear about the results of your poll.
Okay, you had told me that you would like to ask me about the different formats for Google Hangouts, and for the last week or so I've been kind of researching, and there really isn't a whole lot out there. So I just, based on my own experience, there's the infotainment Hangout, there's the educational or instructional Hangout, there's the interviews of subject matter experts Hangout, there's the ones that are just purely entertaining like a game show night that I participate in once or twice a week. So there's a bunch of them. And one of the productions that I help with is a crafting show, Heather Crafter's Kraaft It Live. And we have the camera on her hands the whole time while she's crafting, and we're talking, and so it's very interesting. She's got a very tight community around that. I don't know if you would call that instructional or if you would call that entertaining or what it is. We have a blast. So anyways, I like the cooking shows. I like to watch when they're preparing a meal. That's always fun. Larry Cornelier is good for showing us how to prepare a meal. Wayne Nix used to do a cooking show, and Aslan Bloors, I think his name. She does a cooking show. Great stuff. I think my favorites, though, are the infotainment, which are the really lively, conversational. I get to meet people that I really need to know, and if it's conducted properly, and anybody who knows me know who I'm talking about, and that's Mia Voss's shows. Those to me are infotainment, and where I get a lot of information, but she does it with a lot of style and entertainment value. So.
That's great. Do you have any highlights from your poll that you'd like to share with us?
Yeah, I only put the poll up yesterday. Let me just click over to it right here. And there were only 9 people, I think, who responded to it so far. The instructional shows came in as the highest, as the most preferred, followed by infotainment, and then group discussions on a single topic were third in line. I did not get, believe it or not, any votes on the cooking shows, and the interviews with subject matter experts also did not get any votes, but only 9 people responded to the poll since yesterday morning, so the jury is still out.
I think we might need a slightly larger sample size, but it was a very good start. Thank you for doing that. So what do you think what is it about Google Hangouts? How can you turn a Google Hangout into a really effective way to attract new clients and attract prospects and convert them into clients?
Well, you can attract them just by making yourself more visible. And I apologize for this. We just got a crowd into the coffee shop, so I'm going to speak over them if I can. I hope that's not too distracting. But you attract them by simply being consistent with your production. Either have every week or every other week or whatever you do, just be consistent. And then you can also attract an audience by writing a really good event description, and that event description should is basically a promise. It promises your viewers what they're going to get. And then in order to keep your viewers coming back, make sure you deliver on your promise. And that, to me, is just absolutely critical, because people are taking time out of their schedule to come and watch a show because of the way you've described it or titled it, or perhaps because of the guest you've got on there. But if you don't deliver, if you end up getting off topic in your conversation, for example, and you end up just, kind of, boring them, they won't be back. So it's really up to you as the host to attract by putting a great deal of thought and planning and follow through on your Hangout. I use a model that I talk about a lot, and it is frame, focus, and follow through. And the frame is very much built. When you're framing it, you're building it with that event description and the choice of guests that you have on your show. The focus, of course, is the show itself. And then the follow-through is you engaging with your commenters or your viewers afterwards, as well as then doing a lot what you do, Elaine, with your shows, where you repurpose your videos. You have your editor take them down and cut them into social media sound bites, which I love, and you put them out on Twitter and you make them available to your guest, and that's a fabulous follow-through. And that's really a great way to deliver and continue attracting more audience, because they see what you've done, and that's a very attractive benefit to your Hangouts. So that's one way of doing it. There was a second part to that question.
I was wondering about what makes it an easy way, using Hangouts to attract and then convert clients.
Well, the conversion part comes just like anything else. You talk a lot about relationships, and you start to form relationships with people here on your Hangouts because of the interactivity and the engagement that happens as a result. But then you convert them because they gain trust in you. They see you as reliable and credible. Assuming that you are reliable and credible. Again, just because you're using Hangouts, by the way, is just a tool. So there was one question on there, how do you make money using Hangouts? Well, how do you make money using your phone? Well, I can't really say. Well, then throw your phone out. No, nobody's going to throw their phone out, right? So you make money because you have to deliver a service or a product. You have to, and customer service and customer support. So you have to still provide those parts of your business, but you simply use Hangouts to give you a channel, to give you a way to get to your clients. So you convert if you use this tool really well.
That's great. We're actually already talking about the second way you create value, and that's by creating social currency for your clients. The way you create that social currency is you help them with their relationships. You create a relationship with your client, but you amplify that. It's like a ripple effect, and you're helping your clients generate additional relationships too. Now, one of the great ways and why I love Hangouts for relationship building is because you can attract a show audience. You can reach out there to try to inform people about the experience that you're going to provide and the information they're going to learn, and invite them to be a part of the show. And of course, the interactivity that happens, if you want to post any questions below or comments, or ask Debbie a question or me a question, you can do that live right now. But what I love is you can do it after the show. You can do it a year from now. Somebody who just comes across this and asks Debbie a question, she'll be notified of that question, and she can get back to you. Only with Google Hangouts. So I want your take on it. What's your favorite way to attract an audience to a Hangout show?
Well, one of the things I do is I stay very active on Google because this is my home base, and I don't ever think about, I'm going to make these relationships so they come and watch me on a Hangout. I'm making relationships because it just feels good to have these relationships. I find smart people who give me great ideas, or, the relationship, I can't say enough about it. In fact, there are a few relationships watching right now. Sheila Hensley is on. Sheila Strover, the Sheilas are here. They're watching right now. And Mia Voss is here right now. She's a relationship. These are all relationships that I started through Hangouts. And so it's just creating relationships and using Google Plus in general. But then, and I was just explaining this to Dane and Elaine before we got started, I use a tool called Circloscope, and it's a fabulous tool that is available to help me keep track of who I'm engaging with, whether it's on a Hangout or through a post or through a community. Circloscope helps me kind of weed through and see who am I engaging with most. And then I can put them into a special circle because, you know, Google can be overwhelming. But based on engagement levels, I can put them in a special circle, and I can make sure I follow up with that circle every day, see what they're posting, and be involved in what they're doing as well. I don't just want to attract people who are going to support me, but I'm looking for people who I can support as well, because that's usually where I find my treasures on Google Plus, is when I find somebody that I can support. So those are just a couple of things. Circle management is really good. Communities are really good. Google Plus in general, I just can't say enough about it.
You know, it's so true. You give, and that's when you receive. So always, with any kind of marketing strategy, if you can out with value, if you can provide a service, if you can provide resources and tools that help people be more capable, that's where you want to start. Absolutely. It always improves your relationships. So Debbie, I know we talked about how to attract an audience, but engagement during a show is really powerful. What are some of your favorite techniques to engage your audience and actually interact and have more of a live dialogue with the viewers?
One of the things I do is what I'm doing right now. I look and I see what is going on during the show, and Sheila here emphasizes a point that she's heard me say a million times: frame, focus, and follow through. And so she put that out in the comment stream to reinforce my point for me. Very supportive of her. Thank you very much, Sheila. And it lets me know that she heard what I was saying. Then there's Sheila Hensley. And so during a show, I'll do this. I'll be watching the comments. Sheila comes out here, and she's given me. She's an advocate of mine, and she's been a wonderful support. So I can talk with her directly during the live show. And then now here's somebody that I don't know, and I think you probably do. Charles Steele, maybe you know him. I love Elaine's energy and enthusiasm. Great host. And Charles, yes, she is. But these are ways that you can engage with your audience right during the show and let them know in real time that you appreciate them and that you want them to be part of your show. And now we have this recorded version, and those names are going down in history because we've got it recorded.
That is great. You know, one of the other people that I think does a marvelous job is Andy Lyons. I've been watching her shows lately, and she's so good about doing shout-outs to everybody who comments, everybody who attends, who's live. She also acknowledges specific questions that people ask. And another technique that I've noticed that I haven't started doing yet, so don't look for this, but people will do an after show where if you want to ask a specific question of the guest or the host, they'll post a link where you can get in. And again, it's a maximum of 10 people in the room, including the guest, the host, and in our case, Dane, my Hangout producer. But that's another powerful engagement tool. And I personally want to do a shout out for Sheila Strober, because Sheila is the one who recommended Debi Davis to me. And I started working with Debi because I really wanted to master Hangouts. And I wanted to make sure that my Hangout show looked really professional, really fulfilled on my business objectives, and was dynamic and compelling. And I got to say, Sheila, best recommendation you have ever made. One other shout out, really quick, it's to Margaret Maxfield. She's my mom. She's watched every single show that I've done. Thanks, Mom. Okay. Whew.
Before you move on, Elaine, if I could just elaborate a little bit on that after show. Heather Crafter, she does Kraaft It Live, and we have what we call the after crafter party. So when her show is over, we bring all the crafters, as many as we can fit, and we do the same thing on game show night. And I'm going to go ahead and mute myself because a bunch of people just walked in the door.
Well, Debbie, you deserve a huge shout out because I don't know if you realize Debbie is in Denver and they're having some challenging weather. It's been snowing like mad for the last 4 or 5 hours, and her internet service went out at her office. So she had to go find a coffee shop. She called in. She's like, oh no, I don't know how this is going to go. But what I love about Google Hangouts, many things, but you can do it from anywhere. You can do it on your cell phone as well as on your laptop. Very easy to take with you. And there's kind of a casual vibe about Hangouts. It's not got the rigid structure that a television show might have. You're kind of expected to roll with the punches a bit more. And so to me, you get to see behind the scenes how people react and respond to adversity. And somebody like Debbie shrugs it off. It's no big deal. Hey, if there's a challenge with the internet in my office, I can go anywhere and I can do a Hangout from anywhere. And I can make this work. And that's a sign of somebody who's a consummate professional and somebody you really want to work with. So I'm going to move on to the third way that you create value, and that's by helping your clients generate more influence currency. How do you do that? You help your clients improve their reputation. Remember, I was just talking about how it was important for me with my show that it look good, it looks professional, it looks put together. Well, I wanted to work with somebody like Debbie who could show me the ropes and help me get there faster. She makes my reputation because I'm working with Debbie. So I wanted to ask Debbie, how does even having a Hangout show, even if it's not super professional, but how does having a Hangout show help to position you in the marketplace versus all those other folks who aren't going to the trouble to create a show?
Again, I think that it's the live interaction and the live presentation of yourself. You've got all your nonverbals going on, you know, the head moving and the hand moving and the intonations and inflections. You want to keep that to a minimum because the camera really hates it, but you've got all of the nonverbals to go along with your verbals, and then you've also, you're right, you're live. If I was freaking out because, you know, I couldn't get to the internet fast enough or something, you might see, well, maybe she doesn't perform very well under pressure. And, you know, we all have our moments, believe me, but you can see how a person handles themselves. I think also that because we're recording this, there's a level of accountability built into this medium. What I say today, I can't turn around tomorrow and say, no, I didn't say that. It's been recorded. So being aware of the accountability factor, because it's recorded, it'll be shared by other people, makes me make sure that I know what I'm going to say, and I know that I'm going to say what I mean, and I'm going to mean what I say, because it's here, you know, it's history now. It's recorded. So those things, I think, can build your influence and your credibility. And the more you get used to communicating on a medium such as this, the more you realize this is the best way to communicate. You don't ever have to worry about spinning something, you know, coming up with sound bites. You just be yourself, and really that's the best advice. When you get in front of this camera, just be yourself, because it's what people want to see, and it will work. I think it'll work to your advantage.
That's so true. That the natural, unscripted makes you much more approachable and much more interesting, I think, to the ideal clients. Not everybody's good fit for you, but the folks who get you and like you, they want to work with you, and this is a great way for them to experience you. Now, Debbie, you work with so many different people who have really effective shows of their own, Hangout shows. What are some of your favorite techniques to promote the show after it's done? Because I think a lot of people don't leverage the show as much as they could. And I'd love to find out what your best practices are.
Well, I'll tell you what, I created a blog post a few weeks ago that has a checklist of just some ideas of what you can do to promote the show afterwards, before and after, actually. And Dane, I gave you a link earlier today, and if you've got that link and plop that into the comment section. But after the show, you do want to go through and you want to look at the comments and you know, engage with the people who left, answer questions, and let them know that you appreciate it. One of the things that I have done quite a bit is I'll timestamp the show. I usually only timestamp those shows that I absolutely love. and it's an episode by episode thing. Sometimes episodes don't go so well, but I'll timestamp it, and in those timestamps, I'll be able to plus mention people if they had a really good quote or a really good suggestion or something really funny, and then I put that timestamp post up on Google Plus, and then the timestamps are hyperlinked, and you can jump right to that very specific spot in the video, of the HOA. So that has I've been doing research since last April, and that tends to create a spike in viewers. Viewers of the replay. If you put a timestamp post out, I'll always measure how many views has the show had, and then I'll put a timestamp post out, and then I'll measure and see, and there's a spike because that post drives viewership. And that's a wonderful way of repurposing and, post-production promotion. Post-production promotion, I kind of like the way that sounds, of your show. So timestamps are one of my favorites. They're very time-consuming, but if it's a good show, it's worth the time investment.
That's a wonderful tip. Thank you for sharing that. We're now at the fourth way that you create value for your clients. And it's the one that most people think about when you talk about currency. It's the financial currency. It's the bucks in the bank. You actually do that for your clients. And so one of the ways that you might think about that, of course, is revenue. And I always like to ask 3 questions around revenue. Debbie, I know you started to say that you aren't sure you would view Hangouts as a way to make more money in your business because it's a tool, just like using the phone. But I find Hangouts are a powerful way to make more money. Why? You've recorded the show. You've recorded your intellectual property, and in my case, the intellectual property of my wonderful guest, Debi Davis, today. So you can take that and leverage it. You can turn it into additional products. You can transcribe it. You can turn it into blog posts. You can do the social media sound bites that I've been creating for my shows. There's lots of different ways that you can leverage the content once you've captured it. Do you have some additional comments, Debbie?
Again, I think that, if nobody does any of that stuff with their Hangout, then it's simply a Hangout. And it doesn't make you money. It's not the Hangout that makes you money. It's what you do with the Hangout that makes you money. It increases your visibility. It reinforces your brand. It connects with your audience. That's what makes you the money, not the Hangout. The Hangout, it's kind of like I used to work in a consulting firm where we would put together all these great studies and recommendations and analyses, and we deliver it in a binder. That's the way we used to do it, back in the day. We would deliver it in a binder, and they would pay us thousands of dollars to do these studies. And then the binder went on a shelf. And they'd say, thank you very much, come back next year because we'll want to update this, employee research or whatever it was that we did. And I'd go back there a year later, and that binder had a year's worth of dust on it. They never used the information. And so they spent thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars on this product that they never used. Now, if they had opened it up and used it and implemented it, then they would have gotten some value. So it's the same thing with an HOA or with your cell phone. If you never charge your cell phone or check your messages, that's probably not worth the money you're spending on it. So.
That's very true. That's very true. And I'm really excited to find more tools and resources that make it easier than ever for people to leverage their Hangouts. Because it would be so great to find useful tools that will automatically transcribe your Hangout. I know that YouTube has a transcription tool, but it's kind of iffy. So it'd be great if there were some additional tools that were a little more reliable. If you know of them, please add them to the comment list because we'll put together a checklist for everybody to enjoy. Now, the second way that you create revenue for your clients is you find ways to help them save more money. Now, Debbie, when you're thinking about all the different ways that you can interact with clients and you can use a Hangout, how would using a Hangout help a company save more money?
Well, let's see. There's no better way to save than get it for free. Okay? So, Hangouts are free. Now, of course, your time is worth something, and I suggest that you don't cut corners when it comes to the time that you invest in putting together your strategy and putting together as smooth a production as you can. That's your investment. And I often say, I is the what is it? Time is the I in ROI when it comes to things like Hangouts or social media or whatever. Your time is worth something. But Hangouts are free, so that's a great way to save money. But then Elaine, you had mentioned all these ways to repurpose this. So now you've got a free production, no camera crew, no airtime, whatever you used to have to pay for the radio or television. You don't have those costs. So now you're going to repurpose it, and you're going to have social media sound bites, which is what you do with your productions. You can embed things onto your blog posts. Now you've got content that can be shared, and it can be shared in a million different ways. I mean, and I'm not exaggerating. I really think a million different ways would be okay to say. So that's a savings because you're not having to go buy some other product or some other. You don't have to go buy brochures. You don't have to go buy a new sign to hang out in front of you. You've got the content. So repurpose it. That's saving money, and from the way I look at it, anyway.
Absolutely. And anything that takes time away from your day, if you can save that time, you're instantly saving money. I love Hangouts because I don't have to travel. I can call in and be a part of this from my office, so it makes me much more productive during my day. I can also do coaching calls with my clients, one-on-one. They can be anywhere in the world. We can record those private calls. They're not publicly broadcast the way these are. But that way, that information be captured forever for my client, and of course transcribed and all the other things. So there's a lot of different ways that you can leverage the power of Hangouts in your business, and it goes straight to the bottom line. Now, the third way that you're actually generating revenue for your clients, and it sounds a little ironic, but it circles right back to what we first started with. How can you use Hangouts to help your clients feel like $1,000,000?
Well, again, it is making your clients feel good about their Hangout. And if you've got clients watching you on a Hangout and just popping their comment up, for example, I still can feel like the visceral reaction that I had the first time my name was popped up on an HOA screen. It was great. And then if you go and you're going to do a timestamp post or any kind of post, just a summary post, and you're going to plus mention them, they feel like they've been recognized and loved and appreciated. And you make your clients feel like $1,000,000. If you're going to help them put a show together, if you're helping them with a Hangout, maybe you're going to be a panel on their Hangout, you prepare yourself. You let them know that their Hangout is the most important thing you've got on your calendar that week, and you make them feel good about inviting you onto the panel. And so there's a lot of ways. Hangouts are so within our reach. I think sometimes people think that they shouldn't get the respect that they require, but respect the Hangout because it's got a huge reach and it can amplify your message immensely. So treat it as such. When you're treating the Hangout with this respect, you're treating your client with respect.
That is absolutely true, and that's something I think we can all tweet out too. It makes a big difference, and I love the idea of acknowledging the folks who are viewing and commenting, acknowledging them publicly during the show as well as after the show. Absolutely. They are a big part of the experience. Yes, Debbie and I can feed off each other's energy and enjoy each other's conversation, but it's so much more fun when it's shared with the viewers. That really brings it home for both of us. So Debbie, the hardest question I always ask my guest, last one, is there anything I didn't ask that you would like to share with the audience today?
Yeah, I think that I would like to share the fact that when people see Hangouts, they see them as a great opportunity to get their message out. In fact, you see a lot of people just flocking to Hangouts and doing them. They see that the technology can be a little bit challenging. And so I would suggest that you, one, realize that it doesn't end at the technology. I would like to share my link to the Hangout Mastery. I've been in the Hangout Mastery group for over a year now. I've invested a lot of time and energy into learning how to do the technology, and that's just the first step. Then there's a strategic part. So that now that you know how to, as Ronnie Bincer will say, make the technology disappear, you know how to push all the buttons and do all the stuff, then you want to make sure that your strategy is set up for your Hangouts. Do you know what your key messages are? Do you know who your audience is? How are you going to promote it? How are you going to describe it and make a promise in your event details? How are you going to follow through after the show, either whether you're repurposing your video or you're engaging with the people who have viewed the show in the first place? Have a strategy. That is the most important part of a Hangout. But because the technology is there and it's all kind of novel and sort of fun, people go to the technology first. They think, okay, I know how to get in a Hangout, I know how to use Comment Track, or I know how to, have my earbuds and all that kind of stuff. That's just the first part of it. Definitely do it. Spend time learning how to do it, and I'll put my link to the Hangout Mastery private membership in the comments. But then remember, think strategy. Think, why do I want to have a Hangout? What do I want to say? Who do I want to reach? How do I want to impact my audience? That's the most important part of Hangouts.
Wow, that's a great summary. Debbie, as usual, you knocked it out of the park. Thank you, everybody, for being a part of the show today. I know you had some great comments to share. I don't look at Comment Tracker because I can rely on Debbie and Dane, my Hangout producers, to keep an eye on the comments for me. That allows me to stay 100% focused on my guest and make sure that we're having a really fun and dynamic conversation that enriches your world and contributes to your business and your bottom line. Thank you so much for being a part of the show today, and I look forward to seeing you next week on Wednesday at 1 p.m. Pacific time. Bye-bye, everybody.